Okay, hello. Second recording. Actually, this is my third. On Friday, I lit a fire in the fireplace. Was like trying to create a good vibe to do some coding, and the microphone just picked up everything. And now I forgot to put the correct microphone in Audacity. So, I'm still trying this out. And it's actually quite hard to get a good sound because the microphone focuses on your voice, but it does pick up sounds around it. Like even the fridge in the kitchen, it picks up that sound. And if I do too much noise reduction, my voice is very robotic, which is not nice. But I think we're good now. Okay, so what I've been working on last week, I was supposed to work on Code Sandbox, but that didn't happen because of, well, really Angular. Because we want to, like in the React community, there's been so many iterations on state management, basically because React doesn't, focuses very on the view itself. It doesn't have state management other than inside the components themselves. So there's been tons of iterations and solutions there, and it's important that these solutions are cross-pollinated to these more locked-in frameworks like Angular. And it's been like React and Vue, no problem. 10 minutes of code, and I got a proof of concept connecting Overmind to it. Angular, very difficult to do. And the reason is that they do a lot of crazy shit. And I don't mean that it's bad. It's just a lot of crazy shit. Because they use this project called Zone.js to wrap every single API in the browser to figure out when stuff happens. And initially, this was maybe a good idea because it automates a lot of things. But my impression is that all Angular developers use the on-push strategy. Which means that this doesn't quite work. You have to kind of like push updates down to the template. So the template has to point to something that gets pushed values to it, like an observable, which is why RxJS is used in Angular. So the current way we connected Overmind to Angular was something like this. We have a connect decorator, but to make the on-push strategy work, you had to actually manually inject the change detector ref, which is also really annoying with Angular. You don't have access to anything as a third-party implementer because you can't inject anything. Like the app has to inject it, which is super annoying. But maybe it led to a better solution. Because what we did instead is create a service. So this is based on feedback from Angular developers, where we have this service, and with that service you can select state. You can select all of it, as we do here, which creates an observable of the state. And the really cool part is that you can just expose that state, and then you can use it anywhere, and the component will only update when the state you actually access changes. So it's the same concept. And then we have to provide this decorator as well. But you get a lot of benefits from it because you get the tracking. Like you get a full overview of all connected components, what state they're looking at, how many times they've updated, and stuff like that. So it's a little bit more code to connect Overmind, but you get everything, like all the benefits. Yes, so like the tricky part with Angular is that we don't have any control of the rendering. Like from what I figured out, and there's no good articles on this either, because I think it's so magical, so people don't quite understand how it works. Maybe not even the Google team understands exactly how it works, because it starts rendering, and then it starts rendering a little bit on a child, and then it goes back up to the parent and does some rendering there. Maybe that is improves performance, but it's hell to work with. Like it's impossible to get control of the rendering. But a good thing is that this led to the underlying project of Overmind called Proxy State Tray to implement like a third tracking strategy. So proxy state tree has like 3 different tracking strategies now, which is really cool because then it makes it possible to implement with different solutions in the optimal way. Like if we only have one tracking solution, for example, like Mobix has, which is like scoped or wrapped tracking, it becomes, it does work with all the solutions, but you're limited to how you can expose functionality. But anyways, I'm talking way too much about Angular. I've also been working on the startup project, and I wanted to share some thoughts on how you work on projects, because for me, I think about 2 main phases in a project. It's the discovery phase, and it's like the end game phase. And tools often focus on the end game, like how your code should look and operate for maintainability and scalability and all this stuff, and making changes to an existing perfect code base. But those tools are often a pain to work with in the discovery phase, where you have no idea about the domains of your application, how you're going to structure your state, how your components are going to look like, naming stuff, CSS, all this stuff. And I think it's important to choose, depending on the project, of course, but choose tools that also has a good discovery API. So I wanted to show an example of that. So this is from this startup project where we have a feed, and I'm importing JSX from Emotion, and I'm using Overmind. I have some color variables, and I'm using React icons, which is a super awesome project. If you're using React and don't use React icons, you just should. You have tons of different icon libraries like Font Awesome, and you just import them. Like you search them up on the web, like arrows alt, and then you can just say FA arrows alt, and it's a component, and you can use it, you can style it, you can do whatever you want with it, which is super awesome. But okay, so this is like a typical discovery component. I think I want to call it feed. I'm just writing out all the elements, all the styling. Actually, Emotion will produce class names and even put this styling outside the component for me. But I don't want to focus on that stuff as I'm exploring. So everything is kind of like inline here, and the logic and the UI structure of the component gets a little bit lost. But that's something I will fix later. So later I will probably move these CSS definitions outside the component manually, or maybe put them into a different file. But having Emotion to figure out UI structure and styling in the discovery phase, and also Overmind, which has a very simple API for expressing state and changes to that state, it's a really good experience. And then when the application is kind of like set, then I will refactor that. I will also refactor Overmind and make sure everything is put in the right place. But that's actually one of the really cool things about Overmind, is that it has like this discovery API, but it is like an endgame API in the sense that when you have discovered how you want your domains and your state and your effects and everything to work, that's kind of like that. That's how it's going to work. So that's actually super nice. Okay, cool. Was there something else? No. So I'm working on startup stuff today. Code Sandbox tomorrow. Really looking forward to that. And we're having a release tomorrow, I think, on Overmind. And I just wanted to show you how we do releases, because we have a mono repo, meaning that we have multiple npm packages in one repo. And we built this tool during Cerebral called Repo Cooker to manage the mono repo. There were other solutions back then, but they didn't really work well with linking packages and stuff. So we built our own tool, and it's called Repo Cooker. And what it can do is build a release note template for you, or actually build the release notes from a template. So what we can see here, tomorrow's release will be like a breaking change of Overmind, actually. It's related to some typing and stuff. And also we got updates to Angular here. It's also breaking. And then we can see, based on the commits, we can see what is breaking, what is feature changes, what are bug fixes and stuff. And what we're going to do here, because we are really focused on creating a good experience moving forward. Like, we're not going to make a ton of changes. The API is set. And we also want to make sure that we get feedback so people don't have to do a lot of work when we release new versions, because we did not handle that very well with Cerebral. Like, you have to learn it. And so what we'll do is we can put these release notes in a gist, and then we can share that on Twitter and ask for feedback. And then if people are happy, we'll do the release. Sweet. Okay. That's it from me. I think I got another contribution last week. Awesome. Thank you. But I'll just keep making these videos anyways. And thanks for following me and the projects I'm working on. And I'll keep you posted on updates by the end of the week. Cool. Bye-bye.